Welcome into a new episode of Lock City MMA. Last week I called a perfect card and made a bunch of money for everyone. Let's get to this week's breakdown of UFC Fight Night, Medic versus Daniel Rodriguez. And in the main event, we have Medic versus Daniel Rodriguez, or D-Rod. Now, is 33 years old, and in my opinion, he's in the prime of his career. He's coming in on a 3-fight knockout streak, with his last knockout being against a really tough opponent in Jeff Neal, where he just absolutely caught him with this flush left hook and dropped Jeff Neal down to the ground, and it was over. Now, Medic is going to have the speed advantage when it comes to striking, the movement, and even kind of the ring IQ on when to come in and out of different combos and mix it up with the leg kicks compared to Daniel Rodriguez. Now, Daniel Rodriguez is 39 years old, and over the last year of his life, he had to spend 8 months in jail because he tried to smuggle some marijuana across the U.S. border. And he has been back in training camp now for the past 3 months. But during those 8 months in jail, he actually did reportedly lose 15 pounds of muscle while in there. And obviously, he's not sparring. He's probably not eating the best. And he didn't get the best workouts in. So, for a guy that basically has been in jail for a year coming into this fight, I think he's going to look a little rusty. Now, he does have good boxing. He has really good combos. He knows when to come in with the straight jabs. And he actually did beat a really tough opponent as well in his last fight, which is Kevin Holland. Now, in that Kevin Holland fight, D-Rod showed his heart. And what I mean by that is he was getting beat up pretty badly in a couple different points of that fight, but he stuck it out and he actually got a decision win. He is coming in on a 3-fight win streak as well. I just think the speed, the power, and the IQ will just be too much for Daniel. And I can see him being competitive in the first round, but starting to slow down due to Uros's body shots and the way that he mixes in the low leg kick. That will start putting pressure on Daniel to start kind of striking with his combos, which I think will lead him to get caught in those exchanges and get hurt. I could see Medic knocking out Daniel Rodriguez in the first couple rounds of this fight, and that's the only way I'm going to go with this. So I got Uros and Medic by knockout, first round. And up next in the co-main event, we have Jan Błachowicz versus Navajo Sterling. Now, Jan is coming into this fight at 43 and a half years old, and Navajo is coming in on 2 weeks' notice. So we're going to have youth versus experience, but the youth will be coming in on shorthand notice here. The way I kind of break down this fight is, even though Jan hasn't had the best results in the last couple fights, he hasn't actually won a fight in his last 4 fights. He's had a draw, 2 losses, and another draw. He's still a good fighter. He went up and lost to Carlos Oberg, who, by the way, is the current champion. But one thing to note with that, Carlos Oberg does train in the same gym as Navajo Sterling. So maybe he gave him some trade secrets. And he also lost to Alex Pereira. So those are not too bad losses for Jan, honestly. Jan likes to throw a lot of lower leg kicks, and he gets some really good power behind that. And he has some decent striking. It's not the quickest anymore, but it is effective. The problem that I see with Jan is that when he fought Ankalaev, he actually got 10-8'd on the ground. So when he does get put on his back against someone of his size, he can really get out wrestled and maybe not even get back up that round. Now, vice versa, when he's on top position, as shown in the Izzy fight, Jan can be pretty dominant. So on the ground, if it goes to the ground, I do favor Jan, but Navajo can be pretty dangerous with top position. He proved that in his last fight against Kutalaba. But in that fight, he also put himself in some really bad positions. Navajo basically put himself in a full guillotine. And if you do that with someone of the experience that Jan possesses, you could be in a lot of trouble. Navajo does have some good boxing, but he's not looked great in his fights. I mean, he's won those fights, but they're all fights where it makes you scratch your head and breathe a big sigh of relief if you bet on him. This fight, in my opinion, honestly, is very hard to say who's going to win. And because it's such a close fight, I always put value in the underdog in this situation. So if we're looking at the odds on this fight right now, 10-0 fighter Navajo Sterling coming in again on 2 weeks' notice. I like the 250. I really do. I think Jan can out wrestle him. And if he just does enough to work him in 3 rounds, I think he's going to win by decision. So I'm going to take the first underdog of this week, and I'm going to go Jan by decision. Lock it in. Up next, we have a couple of heavyweights. We have Marcin Tybura versus Alexander Rakić. Marcin Tybura is 40 years old, but he is a natural heavyweight. And what I mean by that is Alexander is moving up from light heavyweight to the heavyweight division. This will be his first fight, so I'm very excited to see how he looks. I'm guessing he's going to come in probably around 235, 240 and be the lighter man in this fight. And I think that will pay dividends. Marcin Tybura, he kind of lost some of his explosiveness. So what he likes to do is he likes to bully his opponents up against the cage and then start to use clinch work to land knees, elbows, or even get his opponent to the ground. Once he gets on the ground, he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so he can be a problem to get off of you, which I think could come into play. Now on the other side, Alexander is a quick, lengthy, kind of in and out boxer. He's got good low leg kicks and he's got good takedown defense. Since he is coming in as a lighter fighter coming from a different division, I think he will have the speed advantage not only with his footwork but also with the punching. If Tybura can't get this guy to the ground, it's going to be a very long night for him. My official prediction is I have Alexander using his footwork, staying away from Tybura on the cage, and not allowing Tybura to use that good clinch work to beat him up. And I think he just outpoints him throughout the fight. I think he's going to land some good jabs, some good lower leg kicks, which is really going to affect Tybura because he is heavy on that lead foot when he throws punches. That, with the combination of cardio, I think Alexander will be the fresher fighter, which will also help with his takedown defense the longer the fight goes on. So as long as he doesn't get caught with one of those big shots in the first round, I got Alexander winning by decision. Lock it in. We have another exciting fight with Velasco Čepo versus Gilbert Urbina. Now, Čepo is making his UFC debut, and he is known for being a knockout artist. He was a fan favorite in his last promotion, and I think the UFC fans are going to love this guy. He lives by the sword, and he dies by the sword. He's kind of like a Michael Chandler, but just better and bigger. So the guy he's fighting, Gilbert Urbina, he is not a bad fighter, but he's also not a great fighter. One of the things he's known for is that he gets hurt when he gets hit. And what I mean by that is sometimes when people land good body shots or shots that might affect you, they try not to show it and they just keep fighting. Gilbert, on the other hand, you hit him hard to the body or maybe break his nose, you're going to see him start to wilt. He's gotten knocked out in his last 2 fights, and it's just a really bad matchup for him, in my opinion. Now, the biggest thing that he could do is take Čepo down to the ground. Čepo does not have good grappling or wrestling, so if he does get him to the ground, a submission is live here. I think that's the only way Urbina is going to beat him. This fight is not going to be a long fight, so guys, I really, please don't leave the couch. Čepo is going to come out full fury swinging. He's either going to get caught or he is going to catch Gilbert and knock him out cold. My official prediction for this fight is Čepo by TKO, or if you want to be safe, bet under 1.5 rounds. Lock it in. And we have the return of Ludovic Klein. He's going up against Tofik Musayev. Now, for y'all that don't know about Ludovic Klein, he last fought about a year ago. In the third round of his fight, he actually snapped his leg in half, but his opponent either didn't know or didn't have the ring IQ to make him stand up. And believe it or not, Klein ended up winning that fight because he won the first 2 rounds and didn't get finished in the third. I think that's just absolutely crazy that you can win a UFC fight with a broken leg. Now, his opponent, Tofik Musayev, he has been an active fighter. He is one of those guys that likes to get you down to the ground, land some really sharp elbows, and just dominate control to win rounds or even try to get a finish that way. He does have really good strikes when it's up close and personal in the clinch. He comes from a Samba base, which is a little different style of jiu-jitsu, so that could be kind of tricky for Klein as well. But Klein should be the sharper, more accurate striker in this fight. Now, before he broke his leg, Klein was very good at range, moving in and out of the pocket and kind of dancing around the cage to keep that distance and keep him safe from his opponents. The biggest thing about this fight is you just don't know how Klein's going to be. I mean, the dude literally snapped his leg in his last fight. He's been out for a year. Who knows, like, Ludovic Klein used to have really good leg kicks. Is he going to have the courage to throw those now? Is he going to be like Conor McGregor where he comes out and hurts his knee because he's overcompensating? It's just a really tough fight to bet on because you have no idea what Ludovic Klein's going to look like. Honestly, I think if Ludovic Klein fights Tofik Musayev when he's fully healthy, I think Tofik could give him real big problems. I think he can land some good strikes, and he's definitely the better wrestler. And the thing about the UFC is the better wrestler usually wins. So if Musayev can get him down to the ground, land some big shots, some ground and pound, some elbows, I can see him winning this fight. If I had to bet on it, which I don't love to, I'm going with Tofik Musayev as the underdog because that's where the value's at. Lock it in. I think this next one is a must-watch fight. We have Michael Oliveira versus Oban Elliott. Michael Oliveira is a freak athlete that is just extremely jacked. He's athletic. He has big power. And the crazy part is he's patient. He doesn't rush things. He sets it up with a good jab, good low kick. He throws combos. When he hurts his opponent, he doesn't rush himself and gas himself out, which is what a lot of people with a lot of muscle do. They think they have an opponent hurt, they go full bore, and then they have no energy left. Michael Oliveira is known for being a knockout artist, but 2 fights ago, he actually won by decision. So he has this, not only the cardio, but the intelligence to outpoint someone to a decision. Now, Oban Elliott, he is a good fighter. He likes to use leg kicks to the body, and then he kind of throws his striking from there. In his last fight, he was having some success in the striking, but he ended up getting choked out. He's on 0-2 in his last 2, and it's just not a great matchup for him. Michael Oliveira is just going to run through this guy. I feel kind of bad for Elliott. I don't know what he did to deserve this, but Michael Oliveira is definitely going to be the bigger, stronger, and I think he's going to land the knockout punch on a counter. The thing with Oliveira's opponents is they know they have to attack him because if they don't attack him, they're going to get attacked, and when they get attacked, it's going to hurt, and they're probably going to go down. So Oliveira's counter striking is very, very good. I think he counteracts maybe with a body shot, hurts him, finishes him with ground and pound. First round, Michael Oliveira, knockout. Lock it in. This will be another very hard fight, in my opinion, to judge. We have Bogdan Grad versus Denis Buzukja. Now, by the looks of the records down here, Denis Buzukja's 1-5 in his last 5, and Grad's coming on a 2-fight losing streak. What does this mean? This means that both fighters know they need to get a win or they could be cut by the UFC. I think Bogdan Grad is going to be the more powerful striker. He even likes to mix in some wrestling, but when he does have to wrestle a lot defensively, he can get very winded. He will have the size advantage on Denis, so Denis will be a little quicker in my opinion. I think he's going to be able to use that to avoid takedowns or try to avoid takedowns. and stay away from Grad along the cage. Where I think this fight ends up going is I think that Brogdon's going to look really good in the beginning. I think he might land some big shots. I think he might land a takedown or two. But I think Dennis gets up. I think he makes the later part of round 2 and round 3 pretty interesting. If Grad can't get the takedown, is he going to be winded? Or will he be able to land those big shots and get Buzukja out of there before the 3rd round? I think Grad will eventually land on Buzukja because he just doesn't have the best chin. So if he does get hit, I think he's going to go down. And since both fighters are in a position where they have to get a win, I think they both have to be aggressive in how they fight. And if they're going back and forth, I have better faith in Brogdon Grad landing a big shot than Dennis Buzukja. So my official prediction is Brogdon Grad by knockout. Lock it in. We have Mastev Rebecki versus Kyle Prepolec. Now, remember a couple fights ago when I told you Klein broke his leg and the fighter wasn't smart enough to realize it? That was Rebecki. If you look at his record right here, here it is. A decision loss to Klein 9 months ago when he broke his leg. He is 1-4 in his last 5 fights, and he's going up against Kyle Prepolec. Now, Kyle Prepolec, you can see he has some wins here, but these are on the regional scene. He's actually 0-4 in the UFC, but in his last 2 fights, he did have to fight some pretty good competition. He fought Benoit Saint-Denis, in which that fight he was able to get out of some really bad positions. So that shows me that he does have some pretty decent grappling. And when he's on the bottom, he's not just going to panic, but actually maybe get his way out of there. The fight against Drew Dober, he was looking pretty good. He was landing some good strikes with some good leg kicks, but one of those leg kicks accidentally hit a low blow to Drew Dober. They stopped the fight, had a timeout for about 5 minutes. That was enough time that Drew Dober got the win back in him, and he actually ended up knocking out Prepolec to close that fight out. The thing about Rebecki is he's super aggressive with this fight style, and because of that, he gets hit a lot. If you go back and watch some of his last fights, he just gets really bloodied up, and he goes full bore every time he's in there just trying to strike his opponent out of there. He has fought through some of that damage and proven that he can fight for 3 rounds, and he has the cardio for that. And the other good thing that he has is really good clinch work. When he gets you up against the cage, he lands good elbows and knees, and he tries to cut you with those elbows, and he's just really good at the dirty boxing. If I had to bet on this fight, I would have to pick Rebecki by decision. I think he's just going to be the more active fighter here. And he's one of those fighters to where he's going to get hit to give hits, and he can wear the hits pretty well, though. I think he's going to be there to land and survive from the Prepolec shots and put enough on Kyle Prepolec to where he's going to get tired, he's not going to be able to shoot for the takedowns, and he's just going to get outpointed. So my official prediction, which I wouldn't put a lot of money on because it's a tough fight, would be Rebecki by decision. Lock it in. We have another very exciting fight between 2 fighters making their UFC debut. We have Jovan Leka versus Alexander Poppeck. Now, the thing to note here is Poppeck is coming in on 9 days' notice, and he has to fly across the world for this fight, which is not good for him. Leka is coming in on a full camp, and he is ready to go. Leka is a good kickboxer with pretty strong and powerful hands, but he uses his lower leg kicks and his kind of explosiveness to break the guards of his opponents to land those big shots. Now, Poppeck is a good fighter. He has some good striking. He has decent takedown defense. So I do think this one will stay on the feet. Since it is going to stay on the feet, I think Leka is going to have the advantage. I think he's stronger, so he's going to land the bigger punches. He's going to be more fluid and even faster, in my opinion, than Poppeck. And he's going to catch him and hurt him. I think Leka ends up landing a body shot or a really hard jab to Poppeck, drops him, ground and pound for the finish within the first 2 rounds. I don't think this fight's going to go on very long. Poppeck's never fought anyone on the level of Leka, and I think it's going to show in this fight. My official pick is Leka by TKO. Lock it in. Up next, we have another fighter making her UFC debut. Nina the Queen Beast Milošević. Welcome to the UFC. She's 8-1. She's got 3 knockouts, 2 submissions, and multiple decision wins. This girl can win anywhere. Her opponent that she's going up against is Cowan. Cowan is on a 3-fight losing streak. She's been tapped out, she's been knocked out, and she's lost by decision. She's not the best UFC talent. She's a bigger 135er. She's kind of tall for the division, and she's going to have a size advantage on Nina in the ring. How does that play out? I think it plays out to her disadvantage. The thing about Nina is she has quick hands, good jabs, and she uses her leg kicks to try to back her opponents up to the cage. And like every other wrestler, once they get to the cage, they try to take her down. Haley, I think, will get taken down, and I'm going to be surprised if she could get back up. That will be the story of this fight, in my opinion. If Nina can just hold her down, it could be a 10-9 every round, easy 30-27 win. I can also see Nina getting the back of Haley at one point of one of those 3 rounds and even submitting her. I don't think Haley is going to have enough striking to hurt Nina or keep her off of her, which will lead to Nina taking her down and just dominating the fight. I'm pretty confident in this, and I got Nina Milošević winning by decision. Lock it in. The last fight I want to go over tonight is Stephanie Luciano versus Marina Spasić. Now, Marina is making her UFC debut. Shocker, another one. And is 7-1. She's 4-1 in her last 5. And she's fighting a very sappy veteran, Stephanie Luciano. Stephanie Luciano is going to have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight, and she's going to use all 3 of those inches to her advantage. She is a very good striker who keeps their opponents at bay with the jab and lower leg kicks. She's very diverse in Muay Thai, so if she needs to mix in some wrestling, she can. The other thing that helps her with is her takedown defense. Luciano, because of her speed, footwork, kind of agility and ability, it's pretty hard to take down to the ground. I think Marina is a very aggressive fighter that can be brought into a brawl. She has some really good kickboxing, and she does have decent counter strikes. She knows how to mix in those leg kicks, and her biggest flaw, though, she doesn't love to wrestle, and she doesn't have the best takedown defense. I think this is going to really separate Luciano from Marina, and I also think Luciano's striking is just going to look more fluid. I think Luciano is going to show her experience and that there's levels to this competition, and I just don't see it going good for Marina. I think she gets taken down. I think she gets held down. I think she gets ground and pounded. And I just see Luciano winning this fight really easily, probably in a 30-27. So my official pick is going to be Stephanie Luciano decision. Lock it in. Thank you guys for making it to this point in the video. As always, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. We are growing and we are printing free money. Let's get into this week's bets. We have the Lock City Parlay with Michael Oliveira, Nina Milošević, and Stephanie Luciano for plus 103. KO of the night. We have Michael Oliveira by TKO and Čepo to win by TKO or submission, plus 132. My favorite parlay, beers for the boys. We got Rakić, Čepo, Oliveira, Milošević, Leka, and Luciano for a plus 385. And before we go over this last bet, just a reminder, guys, a little bragging here. Last week, I did call a perfect UFC card. Every single bet that I said would hit, including a plus 1,400 parlay. Let's go, boys. So, with the last bet of this card, crazy, but could work. We have Jan and Musayev for a plus 985. Again, thank you to everyone that's made it to this point in the video. I appreciate y'all. drop a like, and lock it in.